This is The Lonesome Die. My name is Michael, and this will be a review of the Solo Investigator's Handbook, a comprehensive method for solo Call of Cthulhu play by Paul Bimler. You can find it at drivethrurpg.com, and it's produced under the Miskatonic repository, so it's produced with permission by Chaosium. Alright, so this is a way to play Call of Cthulhu, the 7th edition of the game, but they're all pretty much, work with each other, all the editions, backwards compatible. So this is a way to play Call of Cthulhu by yourself, using the system as a GM emulator. So this is a brief review, mostly because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into practice. I'm going to give this game a shot and do it in front of the camera for a live play, actual session. So I'm just going to flip through this so you can see what it is. Alright, here is I printed it out and put it in sheet protectors. Hopefully it's not too shiny for you. There's a brief introduction, how to generate a scenario. One of the key components of this is journaling, which is common with solo RPGs. How to generate NPCs on the fly, the use of mythos creatures. The verbs table, clues table, spooky tables, rumors table, random event table, location tables, and finally there are a couple example sessions of play in the back of the book. So looking through this, it's mostly a really good book. It's an easy read. It took me just a few hours to read this one and digest it, understand it. There's a cheat sheet, and there's several tables throughout. The only thing that I'm a little bit annoyed with is that the tables weren't collected maybe in an appendix where they could have been a bit more useful. Instead, I've had to put little tabs throughout the book, and I'll just have to flip through that when I get to it. What I did while I was reading, after I read the book and trying to figure out how to play this, is I put the essentials of the game onto a 4x6 card. So let me show this to you. This is the Solo Investigator's Handbook. I've dropped down these steps into framing the yes or no question. When you ask your questions as you solo roleplay, you determine the difficulty modifier, if there's going to be your assumed yes or not, and the yes answer to the question is typically more high action, more involved. So if it's less likely, you reduce that score, but if it is more likely, you increase that score. Okay? You make a D100 roll. What it is, if it's a 1 through 34, it's a no. If it's a 35 through 59, it's a maybe. And if it's 60 to 100, it's a yes. I like this score. There are too many yes or no oracles where it's just either yes or no. I like the ones that have a little bit of an in-between, where it could be maybe, so it allows you to do the push or pull, or the yes and, or the yes but, or the no buts, that kind of a thing, like improv. I made myself a quick reference chart of where the other tables are, so I can go there. On the back of this, I put the Mythos Point table, and other stuff like that. The story direction table, all the other tables I just reduced to a small handout for myself to turn to. Okay? I am going to consider, I did one other thing, and I wrote down a note from another source called Rogue Handler, how to run Delta Green, or any modern Cthulhu game using a simple oracle. That's a different company and a different review. But I included this because I had some space, and I thought I might give that a try in the future. But today I'll play probably without that. Alright, so for the sake of materials, I'll be using today, I'll probably flip to this at some point, the Book of Random Tables from the 1920s to 30s. This is by Matt Davids. He does some okay table books. They're pretty affordable, and they can be pretty useful for names and such. I'll be using the 7th edition Keeper's Handbook. I keep my hardcover books in paper to preserve them. Other than that, I have reference, if necessary, to the Grand Grimoire of Cthulhu Mythos and Malleus Monstrorum, Volumes 1 and 2, the Monsters and Deities books. In addition to that, sometimes solo RPGers will ask you to consider using your source material itself, like if you're looking for verbs or phrases or just something to get you going into the mood, they'll have you turn to, an actual work. So I have some of Lovecraft's collaborative works, The Horror in the Museum, got The King in Yellow, and of course the complete fiction of H.P. Lovecraft. So I'll be turning to those if I need to generate some ideas or just some description or just get the juices flowing. In addition to that, I will show you my brief setup around here. Don't want to wiggle the camera too much, but I've got, I don't know if you can see this, might get kind of wild. I'll just leave it alone and just explain a few things. I'm still new to this. So I've got character hit points. I've got these little tab things I got from another solo player. Hit points, sanity, luck, and mythos points. Mythos points is something you use exclusively for the solo companion here. But these are what you would use normally for any Cthulhu character. Hit points, sanity, and luck. So last night what I did is I created a character for 7th edition Call of Cthulhu. I did it pretty much how we do it in my gaming group. How we did it in my gaming group is we just roll an extra die and drop the lowest. We usually do it in order, and I did it in order. So the strength is the only stat that really stinks, the 7. But everything else is really high except for luck. And I've got that going there. Other than that, I randomly rolled a name from that random tables book I just showed you from the 1920s and 30s and came up with Otto Coswell. Let's see, I did randomly roll up occupations. I'll show you how I did that. That was kind of interesting. What I did is I went to the book where it lists the occupations, and I counted that there were 28 available occupations, and what I did is just I numbered them and rolled a d30. So when I rolled the d30, it determined I rolled a 28 in that I can't remember what number I rolled, but I'll show you in a minute. But it came up with a parapsychologist, and I was like, oh cool, I've never played one of those in Cthulhu, so I'll give it a shot. Let me show you what I did. Oh, so here are the sample occupations. There are more occupations listed in the Investigator's Handbook, but I just wanted to keep it to the core ones you're more likely to use in a Lovecraft scenario or a Call of Cthulhu game. So I rolled a 20 on a d30, so I got a parapsychologist. Alright, so other than that, I just did the extra die and dropped the lowest. Those are my scores. And I just converted it to a character sheet. For the extra skill that the parapsychologist had, I got sleight of hand. And other than that, I chose the other language for him, German, because I figured he was a veteran of World War I. I rolled for an education test. I succeeded. So because of that, I did not receive an education improvement. And then I rolled his age. So for the age, I did the same thing. I put a note inside my game book on ages, and I just did arrange what was likely for him. So let me get there to character creation, and I'll show you. So for character creation, what I did for his age, to determine his age, I put a little 2d6 chart to the side of this. I don't know if you can see that. I will try to drop the camera down. But there's a little 2d6 chart there to the left. I wrote, if I rolled a 2 or 3, it would be that age. If I rolled a 4 through 7, it would be 20 or 30s, and then on, it would be those different ages. So I rolled a 7, and I just decided to have him be in his early 20s. I was originally going to have him be in his 30s, and then I realized in order for him to be a World War I veteran, he likely would have had to been in his late 20s, because I'm going to set the game in like the mid 1920s here. So I decided to just make a call and have him be in his late 20s. Other than that, what I did is I also just chose his skills. I just started where they started. I chose the occupational skills. I added what I had. I know his education score was really high and his power score was ridiculous, so this is going to be a great character. The only thing that stinks is his luck and his strength. Otherwise, he's a pretty ideal character. And I gave myself the interest points and the personal skills points, and I just added those up, and I started generating what this guy was. So here is his character sheet. Otto Coswell, parapsychologist, 29, male, 13 hit points, 80 sanity equal to his power, etc., etc. You know, high magic points, a little low on luck, but otherwise pretty good. I highlighted his occupational skills, and then I chose the other skills. Now, how I started to determine his character was I used part of the Stygian Fox character journal or character sheet because I really liked this character concept. What I did is I truly wanted to play a random character. So what I did in order to do this, I took their chart here. I guess you would normally select where you'd stand on these things, but I wanted to roll randomly. So what I did is I just did a 2d6 bell curve distribution where you would be utterly like these negative qualities here or completely like these good qualities here if you rolled a 2 or a 12, and everything else was in the middle with the standard deviation, or the standard average I should say, the standard average being in the middle there. So he's pretty average on most of these. I just highlighted where he stands out a bit. So I somehow rolled snake eyes on him being a base fellow rather than being a sophisticate. So I guess he's kind of vulgar and low down. But I also rolled really high on him being a hero. So, wow, I mean, he's vulgar but a hero, so I guess it kind of works. Bit of a liar, but also kind of a modest man, so I guess he lies but not about himself, being great or whatever. He is also a little bit after wealth, and he rolled that as his goal too. Not only as one of his drives, but his goals is toward riches. He's a bit of a follower, though. You know, he follows. He's an acolyte. He'd rather be an acolyte than a master. He'd rather be alone than with family. He'd rather be a follower than have power. So, but these are fair qualities, so they're not as direct. So what I decided for Otto Coswell was he would be just American mutt, probably German-Irish, which explains why he got into translation in World War I. He was translating German documents, etc., for the military overseas, likely the army. So he's a World War I veteran. I decided that he would have a coma from a gas attack. When he experienced that gas attack and that coma, he had that near-death experience. So afterwards, when he woke up, he was really interested in discovering what he experienced. So he really got into spiritism and parapsychology. So this is my connection to his occupation. And to explain his really low strength roll and luck roll, I decided that he would have basically muscle atrophy. His muscles atrophied as a result of him being in a coma for 5 years. He was also unlucky because he lost the girl he was planning on marrying. In trying to understand his near-death experience, he became obsessed with spiritism, the occult, and parapsychology. He's got a bit of a Gatsby complex in that he's kind of trying to chase and become new money in the 1920s. He's very focused on image and being a self-made man as a parapsychologist. He lies, but he's also a hero. He's somewhat of a follower because I think he wants to believe. He wants to believe in spiritism and the paranormal, but he's also not above, bullcrapping and just making stuff up in order to make a living at it. So that's why he got the sleight of hand, so he can do the spiritism turntables and stuff, and all the spooky occultic trappings of tarot cards and crystal balls, and also while trying to make a real science out of it, because he would like it for it to be real, but he's not above making a living by pulling the wool over some socialite's eyes in order to make a buck or to steal a kiss or what have you. So I decided to give him a trench knife and a Lee Enfield for his rifle. He's a pretty well-rounded character overall. I mean, he rolled high on the education, so he had a lot of skills, decent intelligence, so a good amount of skills there. So this is going to be a great starting character for solo play. So that's my character creation, and I'm probably going to hit the pause button and get ready to play.